Very much agreed. And then
we agreed on something.
we did hell freeze on there?
So, as two Star Wars nerds here, there's a lot to be excited for. There's a lot to talk about. But there's something that if you are a Star Wars fan, if you haven't been paying attention, there's a lot of history being filled, and it's not happening on the TV. It's happening in the comic books.
I don't know how honestly fans can nowadays just like go and watch Ahsoka or even Rise of Skywalker and not feel lost at times. Like we discussed this before with Emperor Palpatine coming back. People were like, "Oh my God, that's so dumb," and it's like, what? They've addressed this in the comic books several times. It's a clone. It's no problem.
I mean, it came from Legends, which is something else they're doing with the comic books. So Star Wars now is filling in the gaps with their ongoing of what happens between the movies. And right now, the current ongoing is in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. The first one was between New Hope and Empire. But we're getting a lot more backstory, enough that like we're now seeing characters do things they might not have previously done, which is really fleshing everything out. But the one you were a huge fan of was War of the Bounty Hunters.
Loved it because in canon, all we ever knew was Han Solo's frozen in carbonite, and then the gang is going to Jabba's palace to free him.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember books or comics or anything that really addressed that time in between. Well, now we have that.
Yeah.
And what's cool is we brought back characters we did see in movies from Solo with Korra and have her be the impetus to basically what's happening to Han Solo, who's frozen in carbonite
Has
still.
no idea what's happening.
Yeah. He's got nothing.
But a lot of people are fighting over him.
And she is basically giving a bounty to bring Solo to me.
Yeah.
And it's great that now you have these bounty hunters. Some we know very well, like Boba Fett, who starts with and ends with him.
First of all, like that was cool just to begin with, because I would say that even before the Disney purchase or anything like that, Boba Fett was maybe the most popular Star Wars character for a lot of people. And for somebody who had a very brief history, it was wild to me. We've now expanded on that. We can talk about the Book of Boba Fett in its own time, but the comics are now giving you more of that.
And that's George Lucas has this very annoying habit, and I love the man, killing off characters that he feels are popular for no reason. And Boba Fett was one of them.
100%.
Darth Maul was another one.
100%.
Yet they were both able to come back. What I do love about Boba Fett is finally, because as we saw with the prequels, Jango Fett and then Boba Fett, and then it was just kind of like, oh, it kind of took away that excitement of who Boba Fett was.
100%.
Until Robert Rodriguez brought Boba Fett back in the episode of Mandalorian, and it was like, that's the badass I've been talking about this whole time.
And then they dropped the ball with his own series where he himself was the main.
We disagree on this.
Oh my God. We'll talk about that. But something that I think is really cool that we're still in the early stages of this, really. For as big as Star Wars is, we're just now getting to a few different live actions. We haven't really done movies yet. They announced 3 more that'll be coming. But what's something I'm a big fan of so far is, for a fan like me, it was hard really getting the full story of Star Wars because you had 40 years of Legends material. It's now referred to as Legends.
And they were pumping out the Jedi Academy, all these books that were just series, and you just lose track of what's going on. When we were still at Nerd Locker, Dark Horse was doing the Origins of the Jedi, which I hated, which is one of the things.
They just added that to the timeline. I don't know if you saw that. They just updated their timeline, and the Dawn of the Jedi is a new era in the Star Wars established universe.
But what I like about Disney buying them and then establishing canon and Legends is they seem to, so far, have pulled the best of Legends.
That's the point I was hoping we were trying to make.
Because like we're having Thrawn come in Ahsoka. Love it. We had him already in Rebels. Love it. Things that I don't like.
But he existed way before Rebels did.
Exactly. He was Legends. He was introduced in the trilogy of books that happened after Return of the Jedi, starting with Heir to the Empire, which Ahsoka literally said, which was awesome.
Yeah. So, but I think the coolest thing they're doing is that they're taking, as a fan like you who did follow that Legends, and a fan like me where it was almost impossible to really catch up on all that, They've restarted it, but they're pulling the best things
Yeah.
from that or storylines from that to help us kind of round everything out. Something we've discussed a million times is everyone freaking out about the Emperor coming back. That was a big plot point in
Huge.
the Legends established Star Wars universe.
Dark
Empire, the Emperor came back.
Yep.
He was back. He was a villain, and I guess because it wasn't on film, no one seemed to give a shit.
And that's too bad, because some of the best stories that are Star Wars of late have come from the comic books. Darth Vader has had several iterations.
Dude,
They don't start as one shots or limited editions, but they
No.
seem to go that route. But they're like phenomenal.
Let me tell you right now, like the Darth Vader ongoing series, the ones that have completed and the one that is going on now, you need to read if you are a fan. This one starts with, it's after Empire and him basically being like, I have a son. I have to figure out, somebody lied to me, and I have to figure out what happened to Padme. And that has been this whole journey. And he actually forms a uneasy alliance with the hands of Padme.
And reaches out to him because they look alike. And this did not come across very well in the movie.
Well, he runs across her in the books, and at first you're like,
but in the comic
Padme,
book, he like thinks it's her.
Yeah,
Thinks it's Padme. He's like
100%.
following her ghost. And then it's hard to like say he was set up because it's Darth Vader and he knows everything that's going on.
yeah.
But he realizes that it's not her, but then they do set up this uneasy alliance with the handmaids to find out more.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
But it's just, I love that they're expanding on this
Yes.
stuff, but it is now becoming a thing that, kind of like you were saying, almost like Marvel, it's a lot harder to be a casual watcher, even with Ahsoka. Man,
said
if
that.
you didn't watch Rebels, you'd have no idea what's happening at the end of the last episode. You really wouldn't know why she's here compared at all.
Yeah.
Like you would know who she was if you didn't watch Clone Wars or Rebels.
It's ridiculous.
And she's maybe the best character in Star Wars right now.
Agreed. Very much agreed. And then
we agreed on something.
did hell freeze over? I don't know.
We agreed.
But then
on
we also
something.
talked about something which I think we might disagree on. They've introduced this whole new arena of Star Wars, which
we're
is in
back to arguing.
which
not
is
so
in the
fast.
past, and it's called the High Republic.
Yes, I'm a big fan of the High Republic.
Hate it.
Only because it's
Hated it.
it's a brand new batch of stuff I can get into from the get-go. They're mostly doing it through books and comic books. They do have something planned, the Acolyte, which is going to take place during the High Republic. And I guess if you want to count it, not sure where this lies, but the kids show, the Jedi show, is taking place during the High Republic. So it is something they are slowly trying to show us. But this is also different because you are dealing with a much bigger timeline than almost any other franchise properties dealing with.
I will say, I like the comic books that have dealt with the High Republic. I thought those are good. And I don't know if it's just as I'm reading the novels, I'm still picturing characters I'm very familiar with. And obviously those aren't the ones in the book.
It's like,
So
you look like Han Solo. I'm going to call you Han.
I really have not gotten into it yet. And I don't even remember the names, like the big bad whatever guys who are, I can't remember their names, that are coming together like pirates. I just cannot get into that era of Star Wars.
I will say
Starlight
none of
Beacon.
it feels big or crazy right now. It really all just feels like an introduction.
And
So I'm sure
maybe
we're
as an
gonna
old man
build
and my
to
patience is zero. I don't know, because I'm just like, I cannot get into it. Kelly, our friend, has loaned me so many books. Like, well, try this one. Try
She's
this
into
one.
it.
Try this one. And I'm like, I don't like it. Stop it.
Kelly's
Yes.
it.
She's
Oh,
very
me
much
and Kelly agree on something.
Yes.
What a
Yes.
hot dog.
But now I
Everything's
do-
coming up,
again-
Brandon.
I do like the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't kept up with it, but I did like the High Republic.
So they have been doing it in like 12-issue runs and ending it at that, and then relaunching it at a number one. So you are going to be able to read it in like sections rather than just like issue 492. So that's been a kind of a cool aspect to it as well. But I don't know, man. I think we say it every week. I think it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan.
I couldn't agree more. We'll agree again. Because
Oh.
even though I don't like High Republic, that's fine. I don't need to read it. I don't have anything to do with it. I still have Ahsoka.
What a concept. What a concept of if you just don't like something, just not watching it.
we've said this a million
You're
times.
not going to take to the message boards. You're not going to
Again, being
try
an
to
old
ruin
man.
an actor's life for
In
just getting a job.
1983, we thought we were done with Star Wars. That was it. George Lucas said, I'm tired.
yeah.
I want to spend time with my kids. We're done.
Now look at us.
And now,
Now you have your own section at Disneyland,
I love it.
which I just booked my lightsaber build. I'm going in November. I'm ready for
You're
it.
going to look all broken like Kylo Ren. Like,
Oh, I will be the oldest person there by like probably.
Oh, you're going to look like the original
They're gonna be like
Darth Vader when they take his
Aw.
helmet off. He's like the
Old-
crusty old white guy.
old, old man's lost. This is for children.